What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And tonight I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I watch recently released films and tell you guys whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. Tonight I've got another 2021 release for you guys that came out last year. I finally got a chance to watch it. It was on YouTube for like $7 on the paid YouTube. I decided to finally watch this. I was excited to see it because of the last few previous films from this director. I'm talking about 2021, M. Night Shyamalan's Old. This one is going to be a very divisive movie. The hardcore fans of Shyamalan are going to have one opinion. People that hate Shyamalan are going to have another. And people like myself and others that are kind of in the middle on Shyamalan's filmography are going to have entirely different opinions that are going back and forth with each other. So this is going to be an interesting review. I was a big fan of Shyamalan back in the Sixth Sense days, of course, one of the best twists of all time. Big Shyamalan guy then. I think he took a long detour, made a lot of films I didn't really care about. He became kind of a caricature with a lot of tropes for me that I just didn't enjoy. It was kind of twist for the sake of twists and kind of nonsensical storytelling, in my opinion. So I kind of got off the Shyamalan train. But the last three movies that he did, I've really, really enjoyed. I liked the most recent two of his trilogy. I liked Split and Glass a whole lot, and also The Visit in there I thought was even the best of his last three. I enjoyed all three of his last three films, so I was very excited to see what he would do in 2021 with Old. Now, this is based on a book that I've not read. I heard the book is really, really good. There are two co-authors, I believe, that wrote the story, and Shyamalan adapted it for the screen, and so here we go. Written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, based on a book written by two other authors, starring Gael Garcia Bernal, I hope I didn't butcher that, Alex Wolff, and Thomasine McKenzie. This is the story of a family that goes off on a extravagant vacation. Again, I won't spoil anything. I'll save the spoilers till the end of the review, so spoiler free for the first part of this review, and I'll let you guys know when I go into detail of the story. But basically, this couple is fighting a lot. They're about to get divorced. The mother is sick, so they go off for a family vacation, and they find out on the vacation they get sent to this beach for some rest and relaxation, and they find out that this beach rapidly ages people to the point where you're aging several years per hour or something like that, so you don't have more than 24 hours essentially to live on this beach. So a bunch of vacationers are sent there, lured there, whatever, to this beach where they realize they are trying to escape because if they stay there for a day or so, they're going to be instantly killed. So it's a rapid aging movie. And right away, I've got to say, I'm generally a sucker for these kinds of one location trapped in a place with a bunch of strangers. Why are they there? How can they escape? How can they survive? Will they turn on each other? Those kind of movies are always things that I enjoy. Whether it's like in the action style, like the Hunger Games, or like the Divergent series, any kind of post-apocalyptic or secluded thriller, action, adventure, drama, escape room kind of thing. Anytime you give me one location with a bunch of strangers who have to find the common goals and find their common ground to survive without killing each other or themselves is a pretty interesting premise. I'll never get tired of it because there are a million ways you can do it. And as long as you focus on character and focus on logic, these movies are usually really good. Usually. Like I said, when you focus on characters and logic, these are usually really good. This one, in my opinion, did not do that. Let me start with some positives. The idea, I really enjoyed. Again, anytime you get a premise like this, it can go a million directions. I love the idea behind it. It could have been a really original movie. In the hands of someone like Shyamalan, I would have expected this to be a home run. In my opinion, it was not, but I'll tell you why. Location, I really enjoyed. Anytime you got a one location thing, the location has to be special. This beach was beautiful. It was very scenic. I love just like how well colored everything was. I imagine they used a lot of natural coloring because of this beach being so beautiful. I don't know where the location was, but the beach and the location they chose was very, very nice. It had its little dark spots. It had its little places of seclusion behind rocks and algae and stuff like that, but also just had beautiful water, beautiful beach, endless kind of place with a lot of tides coming in, hard to swim away, hard to escape. I really liked the location they chose. It was one of the high points. Now, the rest are pretty much low points. Acting in this film. I didn't like the acting in this film. And then this goes in with another point of mine that I'm going to make later, but I'll kind of put these together. One of those points is no emotion. And that goes along with the acting. I don't know if it was just bad direction. I don't know if the writing just didn't leave a lot of room. But my goodness, the acting in this was really bad. These extreme things are happening. You're finding out that, you only have so many hours to live, and that your once newborn children are now teenagers, and everyone is growing sicker and sicker, and there are people that are, impervious to pain and stuff like that. And so you're all of a sudden being forced to bond with these strangers. You thought you were on vacation, and now you're dying, and all these extreme things are happening. And nobody's line delivery is changing. Nobody's facial expressions are changing. Nobody's really freaking out beyond like 10 seconds after it happens. There's no chemistry between many of the actors in this. And I gotta say, Alex Wolff, I've liked his stuff in the past, and Thomasine McKenzie I'm a big fan of. This was one of the big reasons I watched this movie, because I saw her in Last Night in Soho, and she is phenomenal. If you want to see the review of that movie, it's on my channel in the last post. Go back and check that out. I love that movie. I did not love any of the acting here. I love Thomasine McKenzie, but I didn't like the acting. There was no urgency. There was no sense of dire need to escape. There was no real bonding of the characters. There was no chemistry. There was no real change in emotion. And when you're in a surrealistic Twilight Zone style story, you have to treat it like it's an insane situation. You have to take this surreal moment and make it feel real for the actors, because if it doesn't feel real for the actors, it's not going to feel real for the viewers, and it took me out of the story a lot. So no emotion / bad acting were two big minuses in this. Pacing. The pacing of this was so bad. There really was no pace. The movie runs an hour and 48 minutes, and that's not a bad runtime for something like this. You could say 5 minutes more, 5 minutes less, but I think the runtime overall was good, because with credits it came to like an hour and 42. Really good runtime for this. But the pacing, there are things that happen, like something major happens, and then within 20 seconds they go to the next major thing. They skip over it. I won't go with spoilers here, but like one thing in particular, something happens where two characters bond, and something extreme that seems kind of creepy and kind of unlikely happens. And then 30 seconds later, something else big and crazy and unlikely happens. And then about 2 minutes later, somebody else, comes to a fatal end, and something else happens. And no one really reacts to any of these things. You get the initial, oh my God, and you get a scream, and then within 20 or 30 seconds, they go to the next event. And then they just kill like 20 minutes trying to escape the same way they already saw that you can't escape. It was like a movie like this, you want to pace it out by these extreme things happening, pretty well between each other, and so the things have time to set in. You want a good pace so the audience can react to the extreme events, and there's never any time to react, because something happens, and then something else happens. But then everything is forgotten about, because they kind of just sit there and talk to each other with no emotion, and then all of a sudden two or three more things happen. So there's no real pace, because nothing sets in, and by the time you get a chance to absorb what happened, they're either on to the next thing, or they completely forget about and ignore what just happened. So it feels like nothing is important. These events should be major, because they're big plot points, and they didn't fully explore any of them. So they didn't really do anything unique in the storytelling in this, and the times they kind of tried to, they didn't really touch on it. They didn't really let it set in. So I hated the pacing, and I hated the storytelling in general for this. I don't know if the book is like this, or if this is just Shyamalan's version, but the storytelling and the writing is really bad. The dialogue is horrible in this. And I know Shyamalan's got some that he's known for some bad dialogue. I like some of his dialogue in some of his movies. I know some other ones are kind of meh, but the dialogue in this is so bad. And so between bad acting, bad dialogue, bad pacing, and bad emotion, nothing really matters. There's no characters you're rooting for, really, in spite of some being very sick. You should be empathetic to the main characters, because being sick is part of why kind of some of this stuff is happening. I can't spoil anything, but you should really empathize with some of these characters as they try to bond and grow, but there's no growth, there's no bond, there's no reaction, so nothing really matters in this. Inconsistent roles is another point that I have. When you make roles like this, where you age at a certain speed and pace, you have to set your roles clearly so that your characters can't break them. They have to try to find loopholes. You got to be up against a certain set of rules. And once the characters find out the rules, they have to kind of find a clever way to figure it out, and then find clever ways around them to try and survive. That never really happens. They have no idea what's going on, and then all of a sudden within like this 30-second period, they go around and explain to you everything that's happening. They just one by one, the characters suddenly just figure everything out. They deduce all the plot points. They figure out the whole situation, all the loopholes, and then they just go on about their business and still can't find a way around this. So the characters have no clever way of finding out the rules, and the rules are inconsistent. Sometimes they work a certain way, sometimes they don't. Sometimes things happen that are outside the rules that are never explained. So when you make a movie like this, the rules have to be consistent, and they just weren't in this whatsoever. And then finally, the resolution was too pat. Once we kind of got to the end point where characters were trying to figure out and foil some things that were happening here, it all happened too quick. They didn't really build up to it. It just happened sort of one fell swoop. Oh, this is what's happening. Okay, this is the end of the movie. They just jumped right to it, and it really just it was just implausible and illogical. And I know you're supposed to have fun with these horror movies, but it just didn't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna give it some credit for being a cool story that could have gone somewhere with a nice location and a couple good ideas sprinkled in there. But I'm talking myself even down. I initially had written down 5 out of 10 for this movie. I'm going to go down to 4 out of 10. I did not like this movie at all. It had a really decent start to it, and it had some chances to build some characters and do some really cool, unique storytelling. But again, acting, pacing, dialogue, decision-making, rules, logic, nothing is there. What a waste. I'm going to give this 4 out of 10 for a great location and a cool idea, but they missed the boat big time on this one. I did not like it. So, if you guys want to hear the spoilers, here they are. Spoiler section. Basically, all the characters wind up there because somebody in their families are sick. So somebody's got a terminal illness in all the families, and it winds up being a government plan to get them all on this beach that they found that rapidly ages people because they want to do all the lifetime of testing on these people that are already dying in a one-day span, so they can test all these drugs and medicines on people that are dying super quickly to see which ones pass and which ones don't work. So it's a government plan to get people that are already sick drugs and to see if they can survive with these drugs in a one-day test. So basically, the 2 of the characters that rapidly age, one finds a note from his friend when they were children at the beginning of the movie, and they find a way to go underwater under some coral and escape, and they go and tell people, and everyone gets arrested. So the end of the movie happens super quick. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for me. Not a fan. What did you guys think if you saw it? Tell me in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. I just posted a review for the new movie X that came out. I posted last night in Soho. I've got this one coming up, and I've got a bunch of other ones in the future. So if you want to see more recent horror film reviews and deep breakdowns like this, please tell me in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.